Well, let's take a look at the picks and bans, and if anyone wants to throw out predictions at all, but it looks like we're going to have Awoken, Ruins, and Blood Run as the potential decider. We've kind of got a split on the panel, right? If toxjq comes, if he's downloaded his firmware, if he's shown up in his cybernetic form as we've seen it before, likely go in his favor. Raisy, he's had success in the past, maybe not looked as impressive, but hey, is there a better time than step up than right now? This would be it. Any thoughts on predictions?
Heal versus Clutch is going to be a brawl. We've seen Clutch once today and it wasn't good. I expect it to be a lot better in this one. Now Raisy will put it out, but I actually really do like the Keel counter to that. You've got the grenade, you've got the pineapples, you've got the grenades, whatever it is, to do maximum damage if he ever wants to rush you, but there's no one better at playing Clutch than Raisy, but there's no one better at aiming than Tox, so expect a lot of frags.
Anyone else have a prediction they want to throw out there before we throw the casters?
One thing I'm going to say as well, I'm quite surprised that Clutch was slipped in there. We know how good Raisy is with the Clutch. Everyone knows he's renowned for it pretty much. But at least Corrupted Keep was banned a little bit later than necessary. He has lost a couple maps with Corrupted Keep. I think it was against Cypher and maybe Cooler earlier on in the stage. But even then though, for the Clutch to slip in, I'm actually quite surprised. But maybe Tox has a plan up his sleeve for it on the Awoken.
All right, well, it looks like the game is ready. Let's kick it off our first round of 8 in the EU bracket, upper bracket. Kick it off to Catch Up and Flee.
It's going to be the Godslayer versus Living Tissue over Metal Endoskeleton Flea. That's what this one's going to be, and I'm really excited for this first matchup. It is a matchup of champions you do not see every day, but yeah, I mean, I'm always interested to see the Clutch get by, and more importantly, see how the opponent can match up against it. And I do wonder if Keel's ability to tank and dish out that damage might be the skeleton key for that.
It could very well be, and indeed this is a very uncommon matchup. Two heavies going up against each other, and not just on any map, but Awoken out of all the possible places. Very strange to see these two go up against each other. You usually see much more mobile, smaller, medium champions go up against each other on this map, but this time both players, they just want to brawl. They want the stack, and Raisy is not going to waste any time as he pushes in hyper-aggressively, popping the shield instantly. toxjq is stuck, no place to run, as Raisy, the Hungarian player from Maestro, will be the first one to put his name on the scoreboard.
But this is a great start. He's taken a bunch of damage straight up the jump pad though, but he knows he can tank it, deal with Tox again. And with the super shotgun being as prominent as it currently is, on a map like this, those larger champions are a little bit easier to hit with the spread too, so expect to see a lot of that SSG throughout the course of this map. Wall comes out, Raisy. He is going to get some of the armor though. The rails are good from Tox, and he gets another one. The downside of playing Clutch, he is the easiest champion in the game to hit.
It's like shooting at a barn door, hard to miss, especially when you're someone like toxjq, but this drop down will result in a suicide. It was actually pretty close. Raisy left with around 30 points of health, but the next major point of contest will be this mega health. toxjq pushing out, knowing that the item is behind him. He wants to do damage, he doesn't want to just pick it up right away, but now he has to make a run for it just to beat Raisy there. Because the robot, who will fall once again, might be sluggish, but he aimed slow. Easy to hit, but that acceleration on the dash. toxjq has to be careful not to give up too much of his positioning, or Raisy can slip on a ride by.
Looking for a lot of those rails. Clutch is large, but he has got that kind of dash style move. It's all about just gaining that instant burst of speed. So although you can have an angle on him, you know, you blink and he's already repositioned. So Raisy is going to play heavily around being as slippery as possible, even though he is a large lad. Ooh! This is quite a scary fight about to take place here near heavy. Both players eat a rail, and that's bad news for Tox, who has no armor! Oh, dearie me, ring out! Okay, I was about to talk about how Tox is tender, and I guess he still is, but that's not a bad time to get a frag, is it, Flea?
That's the risk of the dash. Once you commit to it, and if you even get pushed to the side slightly, you really have no opportunity to correct and change course. So Raisy dashing out of the teleporter, and then just a tiny little nudge from that explosion sent him flying off, stuck in a bad position. Shield will be popped. Stacks are actually pretty equal. Raisy pulls out the mining drill.
Oh!
Toxic caught looking the wrong way as Raisy just blazes on through with 5 points of health, taking down the Terminator with the super shotgun. Raisy still 1 frag in the lead. I am impressed, tremendously so, how much damage Raisy is doing with this low stack. He's even gonna get the frag! Catch up, Raisy was on like 5 points of health, then he was at 20 points of health, 30, and he just kept hammering Toxic. He still is. Somehow not just staying alive, but actually getting a frag out of that. That's incredible.
Gonna get even better for Raisy at this rate. I had to jinx it because he got hit by a rail. My point is that his shield is about to come back. And the moment that shield becomes available, it really does transform the push potential of a clutch, especially Raisy. We can't forget Raisy, without a doubt, the best clutch player on the planet. And you really can't get that. You can't get that matchup experience without fighting Raisy. You know, he's one of a kind, truly. But Tox, super weak, and this is going to be a really scary situation to recover from. The momentum that this robot can feel once you have a really good game is absolutely ridiculous.
Toxic stabilizing is going to be the first order now. He's got that tremendous base stack that comes with a heavy champion, but he needs weapons. He needs to get a good position to take a fight, not just on Raisy's turn, but on his own. And there we go, Toxic. Catch up, this is what I was worried about from the start. Tox kind of getting carried away and just throwing these frags into Raisy's face time and time again. This has been one of our biggest criticism of Toxic for weeks, months now. He just sometimes puts himself way too far out there with nothing. See, again, Mega's about to spawn, Raisy has heavy, Raisy has everything, Toxic just has LG and starting stack, and he takes the fight. And then he just drops down dead just like that, because there's no way Raisy is going to let him win that. Those are bad mistakes that make it so much more difficult for him to now come back.
I will admit, I was a little bit concerned seeing Tox pick the Keel into this matchup, purely because, I mean, when I look at it on paper, I just think about Clutch. He has pretty much, you know, a similar stack, but you're large and he's able to hit you. He has better mobility than you. You know, they're very similar archetypes in the terms of, you know, if we're looking at heavies, but in this particular matchup, Raisy has the speed, Raisy is gonna hit these shots because Keel is easier to hit than most, and he has a shield wall, so even if Tox is hitting damage and all these shots, there's a lot of shield presence on this map because of just how well Raisy prioritizes the hourglass. Look how often he goes into heavy machine gun just to take the hourglasses that are down there, just to get the shield back even faster.
Yeah. I also haven't really seen anything come out of Toxic in terms of grenade use that really makes me go like, wow, he is using these grenades to the best of their potential. He just shoots them every now and then in the hopes of catching Raisy, but they've never been a decisive factor in any of these fights just yet. And Raisy, once again, popping that shield to stay alive. Toxic, 7 frags, 3.5 minutes to do it in. Showing up way too early. That was 7 seconds before the Mega spawned, and Raisy is going to capitalize off of that mistake once again.
I mean, a major problem is that Raisy is A, too agile, so the grenades can't even come close to hitting him. And B, how often is Raisy like not at the close range where the grenades can be a game changer during a fight? Raisy is keeping this fight as far away as possible. It's LG, it's rail. It's never a position where Tox can really get much benefit. Like even here, it's enough room for Raisy to just kind of play that dance in and out in between grenades and rockets. And he had a shield wall if he wanted it. This is a free frag. Nothing he can do. And that's Raisy feeling himself. Raisy out for revenge.
Yeah, Toxic. This is essentially an impossible task.
This is a GG right here. There's no chance.
Yep.
No way. Not with this momentum. Not with this little time.
Raisy's just too clean. Toxic threw away too many frags when he absolutely didn't have to. And now the LG on LG. Toxic once again. This is full desperation right here. He knows that if he can't chain together 5 frags in the next minute or so, it's over and done. so he has no choice but to try and push relentlessly, even if it keeps extending Raisy's lead.
At this point, Tox really has to just sit and try and keep his execution high. There's no way he's winning this map. Raisy has done way too much work in a short space of time. But this really, yeah, and Tox, he knows. Okay, so I imagine Tox, if he is having some issues with his connection, I don't know if there's going to be any kind of downtime in between while he gets that looked into. That would be unfortunate if he's having any troubles, because if he happens to deal with a high-octane clutch of Raisy's caliber, I imagine that's no easy task on the best of days. So after this, I'm sure we'll find out what the situation's going to be. However, it's not going to stop things from being a 1-0 for Raisy, who has just put on an absolute clutch clinic. He makes it look easy, Flea, but it really isn't, is it?
Absolutely not. Raisy, his aim, his movement, it is all just trained to perfection. The rails he's hitting, the LG and the tracking. And then there's also just those neat little things that Raisy does time and time again, right? The nail gun jump over at the bounce pad near Heavy, just going right up to railgun. He did it twice already this map. It's those little things, those little flares that Raisy just so well known for. Tox not catching sight of Raisy until it's already too late. And that's a very angry and stacked robot. Toxic trying to use the wall ahead of him to just bounce the nades backwards. But Raisy is gonna hold his ground and finish things off. 16-3 already. This does not bode well.
But this is a Raisy game. This is what happens when Raisy gets the clutch. He's getting juggled and he does get completely annihilated. But it is absolutely too little too late. But this is what happens when Raisy picks clutch. It's kind of one side of the seesaw or the other. It can go absolutely amazing for him, but on the flip side, we have seen it be disastrous. It really depends on how prepared the opponent is for that specific matchup and how they handle the heat. Because Raisy, he will be aggressive, he will be fast, he'll be in your face all the time, and that's how he plays clutch. He knows you're going to push him. He knows you're going to constantly... You're going to hit him with every shot. So his entire goal is, I outdamage you. I outfrag you every step of the way.
Indeed so, and that is going to be Raisy taking home map 1. Now do keep in mind, since we've paused the relegation games, this is actually just a best of 3, so Raisy only needs one more win to continue along the brackets. And yeah, getting pretty close to a 2-0 victory already. Was a pretty interesting game, very high octane, lots of frags, Raisy proving insurmountably strong with that clutch once again. I do think that Tox at one point just gave up way too much room, way too many frags to his opponent, and that's something that we've worried about a lot when it comes to Tox. He takes these fights where he shouldn't, and I feel like Awoken is one of the mobs that just compels him to do so more than any other. You will see him stand on that center area of the map, which is what's called as T, when his opponent, Raisy, is outstacking him, has better weapons, and Toxic just stands there firing rockets down at Raisy a second before Mega's about to spawn, hoping he's going to land some good rockets, but he's not. And Raisy's LG is perfect, especially on a large target like Keel. So Toxic just dies within seconds, and he achieves absolutely nothing with that kind of an aggressive push. The only thing that happens is that Raisy keeps extending that lead, and I think that we saw too many mistakes like that come out of Tox.
Definitely that, and I think also, I hate to say it, I was not a fan of the champion matchup either. I do not think that what Tox was trying to do really worked with Keel, because when you look at Keel's weaknesses combined with how Raisy was playing, it was just advantage Raisy every step of the way. He's going to hit those shots, he has a large target to outdamage. He has movement that you don't have, he can mitigate damage, whereas, you know, there were, like, look at how little the grenades actually connected in the first place. It just... There was not one single advantage Tox had there, and combine that with the fact that Raisy played better, no surprise it was 17-5, or, you know, as one-sided as it was. But that was only one map. It was an unusual map, absolutely, but we are going to be moving on to the next map, which I believe is going to be Awoken. Not Awoken, sorry.
Ruins, I think.
So I've got my notes on the side, and for some reason that was the word that I read, but it is Ruins, and then Blood Run third.
Yeah, Ruins, and we're gonna see the Strog being used by Raisy, so it's actually Raisy who takes away Toxic's ability to crouch slide in this matchup, and he's going up against the Ison. Two pretty solid picks for this map. Strog has got a lot of speed, a lot of mobility, that quick acceleration that can get you out of so many bad situations, but also help you get to the item faster than your opponent, so Toxic clearly struggling with the speed disadvantage this time around, but then in turn, he's got the turret that gives him a lot of information. It'll shoot at your opponent even when you're nowhere near, so you can find out exactly where he is on the map. And then, of course, the damage. Putting it down mid-fight forces your opponent to be distracted and divide their attention between you and the turret that's pelting them with a hell of a lot of damage.
I believe I've just inhaled air. So really sorry, everyone. Excuse me. Sorry, I normally have a mute button, but home broadcasts don't quite have it. That took me by surprise. I believe we're waiting for Tox to actually rejoin. I think he's gone for a PC restart. If he was having some connection issues, he might have gone for a full restart. We'll see what happens and hope that things improve for him. We would absolutely love and want Tox to be able to play at full capacity, because when he does, it's a complete treat. But I guess actually, on the opposite end of that, Flea,
Yep.
we haven't really touched on it, but while we wait, let's do a mini recap of why Raisy is somewhat of a talking point. Stage 3 finals, he underperformed catastrophically, and he's out for, he wants to be able to redeem himself here.
It was a disastrous event from Raisy, right? Because if you think back, Stage 2 finals, Raisy made it to the Grand Finals, right? He made it to the winner bracket finals, went up against Rafa once, lost, made his way back to the loser brackets again against Rafa, lost once more, but still, clearly top 2 that tournament. No one could touch Rafa or Raisy in that context. And then comes Stage 3 finals. Raisy picks Cypher as his first opponent rather than someone that might have come from the Challenger relegation games, and he ends up losing to Cypher first. Next match, loses against Wenger, his own teammate. So Raisy, one of the people that most of the viewers were looking at this is a potential winner of the entire thing, drops out within 2 matches. Now, he has had his share of revenge. He actually beat both Cypher and Wenger during Stage 4, so he clearly showed what he's capable of, but I think a lot of people are expecting great things, and Raisy, more so than anyone else, was disappointed with how he performed, and he really wants to do better this time.
No one knows better than Raisy that Raisy could do better than that. It was just a string of really unfortunate events, I can only assume, that just led to the way things went for him. And he just got eliminated earlier than anyone possibly expected. You normally talk about Raisy being one of the absolute most consistent players. You'll see him in the top 3 every single time. Yeah. He may not get the win, right, but he's always going to be right at the kind of top of the pyramid, And this is the event where you have to make or break that. If you're going to have a kind of like a stepping stone where you do finally have a bad performance, at least it was Stage 3 and not the World Championships, because now we are in the World Championships. This is the moment to get that back up. It's just up against Tox, a player that has been able to do very well against him very recently. I'm glad for Raisy's sake that he's been able to get that dominant map 1, and we'll just see if he can continue. We're loading back in now. Tox is in the lobby. Thanks everyone for joining us and being patient, more importantly. We are about to go into our next map, of which Raisy is currently 1-0, and we'll see if he's going to conclude here with a pretty dominant result versus Tox, or whether he's going to fight back.
I think Tox, he just needs to be more disciplined, more measured in how he approaches this. When he loses a few frags, he cannot just push and push and push in the hopes of breaking his opponent's grasp of the maps, the items, and the rotation, but he needs to mount a slow, measured comeback over time. Just get himself the base stack, get the weapons first, and don't engage unless you're confident in your ability that you won't be able to just do damage, but that you'll actually be able to take your opponent down. And on that note, though, we are jumping in to the next map. This is Ruin, starting off on Raisy's point of view, playing the Strog against Toxic's Ison.
There's always this matter of mobility versus not so much on a map like this. And Raisy being the one that has the extra movement, having a rail instantly, just being able to reposition to the rapid pace that he's going to be able to do. It's going to help him out a lot, but we'll see what he can do here at the start. There's not much of a divide between these two items. If you're able to get the Mega first, it's definitely likely you can kind of run down and slide within time. Not so much for Tox, I don't think, but we'll see what happens with this next rotation. Playing it very safe so far, and Raisy does not want that turret to give him away.
course, that's one of the most important aspects and benefits that the turret offers. It's that information, just knowing when your opponent passes by a certain area of the map can give you so much to work with in terms of devising a strategy and catching them off guard. Low start, pretty decent delay between the items, around 8 seconds. Heavy will be up first. Looks like toxjq will be the one to take it this time. The Swedish Terminator has a decent stack advantage.
Ooh!
Eager will connect.
Nice little bit of piloting there from Raisy. Tidy movement. As we now move in, potentially a fight. Both players miss their rails, but I think safety more important there. Trying to reduce that damage as now we can see the heavy is about to spawn. And Raisy opening up with that rail does set some things up. That rocket, not so much for damage. That second one definitely, but it was the information. Tox knowing, okay, he is in fact down there. And let's get some more damage on deck.
toxjq definitely coming out supreme after that engagement. But it's Raisy. And just to secure the mega, but the damage, the Swedish Terminator finally looking in better shape, dishing out a fair few hits here and there, but still nowhere close to being able to get Raisy. Wow.
Was this drone racing?
That's the
Going
kind
on
of
here.
piloting that will put a smile even on the Hang's face. This, the dodges, the dips, the dives, and then the damage to wrap it all up nicely. Raisy making good use of the peak already, not so much in any decisive moments, but still just to call his opponent's stack.
But it's been pretty standard so far though, Flea. Nothing particularly exciting yet, just both players not wanting to push too far ahead. They've all got the weapons, they have decent stack both sides. Neither player has been in a position to really push just yet. The rails have been so-so on both ends. Some opening damage has come through again. Rare footage of a rocket taking out a Pika. The turnaround on Raisy does take a lot of damage. The danger is that he's low on armor. The light should be able to pick this one up because Tox is going to disengage at the same time. And Raisy, what a shot there from Tox. And now this is going to be a scary push. 8 seconds away from the armor. Raisy's a bit early here. And there's no way he's going to survive. Tox wins the fight and at the best time to get the heavy as well.
Raisy's definitely showing up too early, pushing in aggressively again. The rockets are going to clean him up again. I like the positioning from Raisy right there. Just staying down from your opponent on staircases makes you very difficult to hit with that particular weapon. Ultimately though, it was toxjq cleaning it up. Nevertheless, with a 2-0 lead already. But Raisy, you can see he feels the fire, he feels the flames, he wants to apply pressure. That is a good amount of damage. He's gonna have heard that scream too. He knows that toxjq has very little to work with once he piles and peels away that little bit of armor.
I like the idea there from Tox though. He kind of stood his ground temporarily, knowing that there was a good chance if he got pushed he was dying, so he just held the rail angle. I've just denied the heavy. If I can at least hit the rail, then it's not going to be the worst thing in the world if I go down, but ultimately he's been able to survive. Maybe on borrowed time, now that rail's come through. Raisy goes for a little bit of a speedy shot there, trying to stay safe. And Tox is still railable with this health. He needs the armor. Speaking of armor, Tox definitely heard that, and he has to be so careful, Flea. This would be a pretty annoying time to go down as Mega's about to spawn. Oh, another miss! Raisy! A lot of rail misses, actually.
Yeah, pretty uncharacteristic for the Maestro player. Usually someone with one of the best accuracies in the entire league. The man hits like an absolute truck. But of course he is up against none other than toxjq himself. Tox now doing what we discussed earlier, playing much more reactive. Not just pushing in whenever he feels there's any opportunity whatsoever, but rather playing the patient game, listening out, knowing that he is out of control. He's got a frag lead, not a stack lead, but still, that can change easily. Back to 100-100. He knows that Raisy is just on the other side of the pillar. We've got a bit of a stalemate going on. Can
Turret's
toxjq
about
get
to
out?
spawn.
Yeah.
If there is a fight here, I think Tox might actually try and use this turret in this situation. Either that or he's going to save it for a rainy day. It's going to come through. Sitting just slightly behind it to make himself a little bit harder to hit. I quite like that. Looking for a mid-air. Some good rocket damage and the distractions. Yeah. That would have been a really important rail to land because it has allowed Raisy to continue pushing. He is going to land a frag at the last second. That is a really good frag for him because now look at the stack. He's got himself the heavy. Looks like Tox has been able to take the Mega at the very least. But Raisy has the armor advantage, and that is going to mean Raisy is confident to push another rail. Looking for quite a few of these last-minute flicks, but at least he's backing it up with the teleporter, so he's safer.
Toxic, no armor to his name at the time. No major engagements for quite some time now. Just a bunch of trades with the railgun at a decent distance as well. Toxic is gonna know where Raisy is. His turret has been destroyed after all. Small delay between the items. Now Raisy. I think that even though Toxic stole away in Mega, Raisy still deems himself to be in control, and rightfully so, but that rocket might change things. Raisy nevertheless is going to continue with the push. Lands 150 damage of his own, and the rail will clean it up. Heavy will be going towards Raisy as he ties things up beautifully, even picking up the little vial for that extra health injection.
Yes, indeed. I was going to bring that up as well. Not only is it a light health bubble, but you got the little vial.
Yeah.
The gift that keeps on giving. And on this note, Tox has just spawned. Raisy would have gone maybe for a bigger push if the Pika connected. But the really important thing is just keeping the lead, keeping yourself more topped up. He has had some troubles hitting Tox with some of these rails. He is going for some difficult shots, not to discredit in any way, but normally Raisy's one to hit those. Oh, speaking of hitting those, here comes Tox. First rail hits the mark. It has put Raisy far enough down there now. He has to push it to try and take this Mega. He does beat Tox to it. And he heard just how weak Ison is. Likely to be able to retreat towards some light healths though. And Raisy's objective, I need armor. Oh, the shot.
That was a great little flick right there. Raisy punishing Tox for showing his face. But Toxic, the rocket spam, the preventive damage, just stopping Raisy from entering the room, will allow him to get away with the heavy armor. We're all tied up 2-2. With 2 minutes left to go as well. Raisy a slight stack advantage as it currently stands. Heavy will be the next item. Raisy already slowly putting himself into position to secure that item too. Good damage. This is going to be difficult for Tox to push in. Raisy, not railable. And Toxic has to stay clear from that one.
This would be a really bad time to use a frag. This map is definitely coming to a close, and as the items continue to spawn, you can see Raisy's in a way better position to take them. And there's a massive delay between the two of them, so if Raisy continues to run this circuit and outstacks Tox, which he's doing by a mile at the moment, this looks like it could be the beginning of the end for Tox. He's going to go down right as the heavy spawns. Raisy looking to push forward a bit and get a spawn frag. He knows the tri-bolt's all that's there, but he's going to show it respect. I do respect the respect here from Raisy.
Raisy indeed realizing that pushing in is an unnecessary risk. Yes, 9 times out of 10 he will win that engagement, but still one bad tri-bolt through the face, that does more than a full direct rocket. So Raisy, of course, a little bit wary, knowing that he's got major items behind him that he can pick up instead, knowing that he's the one in the lead with just a minute left, and makes the very wise decision not to push in for that engagement, but instead just leaving Tox be, knowing that all the pressure is on his opponent.
I think this is just shy of a GG unless Toxic is really able to get a fight sooner rather than later. And he's able to hit a lot of these shots because Raisy's been doing some significant damage. But he's playing the slow game. He's just listening out. He knows the jump pad's going to make noise, but he has to be sure it's not going to put him in a bad spot. Here he comes. Now, this is where we go. Lovely defensive rocket. Knocks Tox off his flow a little bit. And he is running out of time. That's one opening shot. Probably not going to have time for the Mega, actually. But Tox, he jumps down.
Bit of a misread right there. If he had just turned the corner, he still had an opportunity. But now Raisy, it's an impossibility. Maestro will secure the win 2-0, and Toxic will be dropping down to the loser bracket. It's our first player today to do so. Well played, Raisy, as he advances through the bracket.
So, part 1 of Redemption has been completed.
Yeah.
Raisy, he has one hell of a path left to go, but off the back of that victory, off how recently Tox did very well against him, that's just going to be a feel-good moment if you're either Raisy or a Raisy fan. It just came down to how well he played in those final moments, the mobility again. Always matters on Ruins, but at the end of the day, Raisy started hitting those shots and made things incredibly difficult. So we're going to have a bunch of analysis left to go, but it's not quite ready yet. We're going to go for a quick break. See you in a few minutes' time. Quake Pro League World Championships. See you in a bit.